So welcome back to another video, and this is a second part of flipping strimmers for profit. We've already done one on the Tanaka. We're going to do one on the Echo SRM 222 ES now. So let's get to it. So we're going to start by taking the air filter cover off and the air filter out again. And I do this with most two-stroke stuff. Put a little bit of fuel down the throat of the carb and just see if it will pop off and run for a certain amount of time. Trying to go, and it's definitely going to run. Runs for a good few seconds. So while we're here, we're going to take the spark plug out, just have a little look at that. See the condition of that. Really badly carboned up. So while that's out, I'm going to give it a compression test, just to see if it's got enough compression to actually run and work how it should. So I don't pull 5 or 10 times or a certain amount of times, I just pull until the gauge stops going up. So if you wait for the camera to clear up, you can see we've got about 100 pounds of compression, which for a strimmer like this is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. It should be able to run off that. So I'm being a bit of a cheapskate now. I will change the spark plug, but I'm going to clean this one up and see if I can get it to run with this one. It is an NGK and it did start with this one, so I'm going to try it again. Just going to clean it out with a file, wire brush, give it a blow out with the compressor. Whack that back in, and now I'm going to do what I normally do and see if we can get lucky. You never know, it may start and run on its own. You just never know. I've had plenty of equipment that started and ran off just some fresh fuel, so it's definitely worth trying. The purge bulb's filling up as well, so it's pumping fuel through the carb. Let's give it a try. It grunted, started again on the first pull, and it's running. It doesn't seem to be running quite as well as I'd like it to. I'm going to turn the idle right up and see if that helps it run for a bit longer. Which it does, but it's still not starting as well as it should, and it's not revving out, so probably needs an overhaul. So we're going to start with taking this throttle cable off, and this is just bolted onto that plastic housing. Pretty simple. We got the kill wires here. They're just cable tied to the side of the machine. So you have got adjustment screws on this. One's down the middle of the throttle linkage, and one is in this little hole just down here. So you have got, I believe the one on the throttle linkage is the low screw, and I think the one in that little hole is the high. But anyway, while we're here, for the sake of the time it's going to take, I'm going to take all this off. The fuel lines are pretty hard, so they're probably not sealing quite right with the grommet, so that's going to allow air in, so might as well change them out for how cheap they are. While I'm here, I'm going to check the seal on the fuel cap as well, because obviously the tank needs to be pressurized. It's got a tank vent, but if it's got an air leak anywhere else, it's going to have trouble running. So yeah, all these lines are knackered, and I think I actually have sets of these where it all comes together with the three lines, the pickup, the return, and the tank vent line. So see what I've got, but I'm pretty sure I've definitely got what I need. While we're here, I'm just going to take this kill wire off, snip these cable ties off. That will release the wire. Remove these spade connectors. Sometimes they're really hard to get apart, so I just pry them out with a little screwdriver. And then eventually it will just loosen them up. And then when you put them back together, you can just squeeze them to make them tight. So that just comes apart, and then this ground screw just comes out. Sorry, this ground wire is just screwed on here, and then that will be your throttle and kill loose, so you can just get them out of the way. Now I'm going to take the shaft off because it's just easier to work on stuff when it's just the engine, especially when you've got a long shaft sat there. It's just an Allen screw. And then this just slides off. That way you can just get the shaft out of the way and you've got this little tiny engine. So I'm pulling the fuel filter. It looks to be okay, and it was picking up fuel, but probably going to put a new one in. Just clean all this up. Give it all a clean. So the grommet looks okay. I'm going to leave that in there. I don't change stuff if I really think it's okay. But the fuel lines and the return line and everything definitely needs changing. And new tank vent, might as well put a new tank vent on, because if that's clogged, you're going to have running problems just from that. And for the sake of like 10p, it's just not worth it. So you'll see I made a bit of a schoolboy error on this repair, because I sort of stinted in the work I should have carried out. Whenever I put a car back on, I always check that it's returning, and I always make sure the return line is a clear or transparent line so you can see the fuel returning. While I'm here, I'm going to change the purge bubble. It's not split or anything, but it's brown and it just looks tacky. Fresh purge bubble just makes it look so much better, so much cleaner. No point putting all fresh lines on and then not putting a new purge bubble in. It just looks so much better. And it might only be a matter of time for the other one to wear out and split anyway. So for the sake of pennies, you might as well change it. And then I always check it again, check that it's returning again. So now we've changed all that, I'm going to give it another try. So we're going to button everything back down. Make sure everything's tightened back down nicely. Put the cap back on, make sure that's down nice and tight. And I'm going to give it another go. Now it does seem to start a little bit easier than last time and run a bit better. But it still doesn't seem quite right to me. I mean, it's running on its own, but it's still bogging a little bit when I go to accelerate, which is no good. Now, what I should have done is put a carb kit in while I had the carb off, for the sake of like £5–10. So now I've wasted a bit of time, a bit of a schoolboy error really, because I normally change them out. I normally change them out no matter what, because they're just so cheap, and if you've got to take the carb off anyway, you've only got to take a few screws out to change it out. So I wasted a bit of time there, but you know, you live and learn. I wanted to see if I could get away with just putting some fuel lines and that on it. So I shouldn't have to explain how to get a carb apart, but pretty simple. It's just screws either side with plates holding the diaphragms on. Nothing too crazy. You just take these screws out. This is the meter inside of this carb, but I never change one without changing the other. If I change one side, I always change both. No matter how good it looks, I always change both, because you don't want to spend the time changing this out one side, putting it back on, and then it's still having problems, you may as well just change it all out. So I've got new diaphragm, new gasket for both sides, so I'm going to put both sides in. So this is the pumping side. This just needs a little clean out. It weren't grubby. I just think the diaphragms are bad. The metering one always goes hard anyway over time. And while I've got it off, you want to check that this needle is sealing and letting fuel through how it should be, because that can be another problem of why your machine might not run quite right. So now that's all changed out, we're going to get it back on for the second time. Like I said, I should have done that in the first place. Again, going to check that it's picking up and returning fuel how it should be, which it is. And now we're going to get it all back on and give it another test. If it doesn't run quite right after this, then it either needs a new carb, or it may have air leak somewhere else. It may have leaky seals or something like that. But yeah, no, this time it definitely started a lot easier this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it back on the shaft. It just lines up with these arrows here. That's when you know you've got it in the right place, and then you just put that Allen bolt back in and tighten it down. Put the throttle cable back on. I thought I might as well do all this because everything else has been changed now. So it seems a bit silly to not put it back together. So we're just going to put the kill wire back together and screw the ground wire back on. And now I'm going to test it with the shaft on to see how it runs, because obviously it's got to work the strimmer head, otherwise it's a bit pointless. As you can see, it's running, but it's still not accelerating right, and that's the second mistake I made. Stupid me should have known when something's finding it hard to accelerate, it's probably blocked somewhere, and normally the case is it's blocked at the exhaust. It can't push the exhaust fumes out properly. It's got some restriction there, normally some carbon build-up, and it's normally the spark arrestor screen. So this is pretty simple. This is just Allen bolts. You've got to take 2 Allen bolts out the top of the recoil, and then there's an Allen bolt on the side here, and that will release that orange cover. And then your exhaust is just Allen bolts, but it's just normal Phillips heads for the little screws holding the plate and the spark arrestor on, and that's what I'm going to check first, because that's normally the culprit. So yeah, that blocked bit is the bit that sits over the space, so we've got some restriction. So there's a few ways of cleaning this. I normally just use a bit of fuel and a wire brush on my Dremel or something like that. You can burn it. You can burn it off and then just wire brush the dust off at the end, but I just dip it in some old fuel and just give it a good wire brush, make sure it's all clean. It was absolutely caked, so it's no wonder it wasn't accelerating properly. But yeah, look, I just get my Dremel with a wire brush on it, and that just takes the majority of it off. So yeah, while you've got it off, make sure that you get this absolutely spotless, especially the spark arrestor screen. You want that to be absolutely clear, crystal clear and clean. So just make sure you get the carbon build-up off of all of it. This plate's got a big thick layer of it on, and that's what holds the spark arrestor screen in. So just make sure you clean everything. You need that spark arrestor to be able to breathe. You need it to be able to exhaust the fumes, otherwise it's never going to accelerate right. So now that's all clean, I'm going to whack that all back on, and that should have cured the problem now. I mean, it would have needed everything else doing to it anyway, But it's just my fault I overlooked the exhaust. But at least now it's had a good service, it's had a good clean out. The carb's fresh, the fuel line and fuel filter and everything's fresh. So this should run nicely now. So just going to whack these Allen bolts back in. 2 on the recoil and 1 on the side. And then hopefully that should be all this needs. Tighten them down. So now we're going to give it another test. So on the first pull it grunted, and on the second pull it started, and it seems to be running a lot smoother now. And as you can see, there's a lot less smoke coming out of the exhaust. The smoke before would have been the build up of carbon, and now look, it's actually accelerating and exhausting the fumes properly. So the last thing I want to fix is this, because obviously I'm going to be selling this and it's got a bad head on it as well. Luckily, because I bought a job lot, the other Echo strimmer has a decent head on it, so I'm just going to take that one off and put it on here. It screws on, so that's good enough for me. It's not the best, but it's better than the one it had. And it fits, so now I'm going to give it a good test. I test everything I fix, doesn't matter what it is. You need to be testing it cutting grass, because otherwise you're going to get it running, think it's good. Once it starts working under a load, it might have problems again. So always test everything you fix. So the final thing I'm going to fix is the recoil handle, pull rope handle, because it's cracked. I've got plenty of these, I've got a whole box full of them. Of lawnmower ones, strimmer ones, so I'm just going to take this one off and put another one on. Made another error. As you can see, I let go of the line and it went flying into the recoil, so I had to pull that back out to fit that handle back on again. Didn't want to bore you with the content, to be honest. Again, when I'm selling stuff, when I'm flipping stuff, I clean it, always clean it. I just use a bit of degreaser and a brush and I give it a clean, and look, when you're selling stuff it's just worth it. Look how good that looks now. So that's them two both done. Sold the Tanaka for 100 and I sold the Echo for 70, so I made my money back on that and I've sold the rest as a job lot.
My life is not an easy dose. I'm smacking bats on your knee when you feel my pops. I'm making your demons cross. How can you hurt me? The amount that I've damaged myself. I'm just immune to it, G. You need to better your health. All while the world's still turning. Girls, I'm doing